I'm about to pop on. Alrighty, let me get on camera here. Okay, seems pretty balanced. Very good. Okay, you guys should be able to hear and see me. Let me know if you can hear and see me, and it all looks and sounds good. Tonight, what we're talking about is Nintendo, as we usually do. But we're going to be focusing on a hypothetical Tears of the Kingdom Nintendo Direct. Yes, there are rumors. I don't know if they're true or not. But we're going to be talking about that possibility. If it's going to happen soon, if it's going to happen later. Dissect like what this potential Direct, if it even happens, what it could entail. And also discuss alternatives as well. Like basically how Nintendo may go about marketing Tears of the Kingdom. Like that's what we're going to focus on. Actually, that's another interesting thing. Like, I've talked about different things, but I wonder if, like, at some point I should make a video just talking about, like, what is the most likely marketing plan for Tears of the Kingdom. But, I mean, we've danced around the subject a lot. But that's kind of probably going to be the focus of tonight's sort of speculation. But, of course, it's a Q&A, right? So, it's whatever you guys really dictate in the chat, and I'm going to be going back and forth with you guys. But I will be drawn towards this topic. That's kind of my plan. However, I will also be talking about potential Smash Brothers as well. Like, what is the future of Smash Brothers? I put out a video today, so check it out when you get a chance, about the future of Smash Bros. I want it to be a series, but it really kind of just depends on if people want it. Because, you know, if I make a video and I spend hours on it, and I'm trying to make this my full-time job, and I spend 10 hours on a video and then no one watches it, then I can't continue doing that. It's just not sustainable. But anyway, so I put out a video today. Not doing well so far, but I mean, people aren't talking about Smash right now, so I understand in terms of analytics and stuff. But yeah, I want to do this series where I'm talking about the future of Smash Bros. And looking at different characters and sort of talking about if they make sense in the next Smash Bros. Game or next Smash update. And also their moveset. So that's what I did for today for Noah and Mio from Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I think they make a lot of sense. So I talked about them today. I talked about why I think they're likely in whatever is the next Smash update. And also talked about their moveset. And that was, I actually really enjoyed doing that. So, you know, if you guys are interested, check it out. But hopefully we can do more in the future. But yeah, so we're going to talk about Smash as well. Like when could we see the next Smash Brothers? How it could change. What characters we might see. That's kind of like the secondary topic for the evening, and we'll sort of see what happens. But yeah, that's the general plan. I'm gonna take a sip of water here. Okay. TC, hello. Let me move this over here. Yeah, I think I prefer having the chat here. Anyway. Hello there, Game Walkthroughs. Hello there, Daywalker. You are back. Jaden Drysdale, hello. Having Hope 5, hello, good evening. Jeremy Binns. Team Restart, yep, that's us. Retro Man. I am doing well. Awesome, TC, you can hear loud and clear. Amazing. Retro Man, thank you. Thank you, Jaden. Thank you, Daywalker. Thank you guys for letting me know. Thank you, Jeremy. 10,000 Noodle. Nintendo? Never heard of them. Me neither. What's in the Nintendo? A Nintendo? A dough? I don't know. Thank you, Having Hope 5. Natsu. Looks and sounds horrible, my man. God, you're like 8-bit with audio too much. Just kidding. It's perfect. Thank you. Jeremy Ben's direct. Directly to you. So it's speculation that there will be a Nintendo Direct, a game-focused Nintendo Direct for Tears of the Kingdom. There's a rumor that was reported on Nintendo Prime's channel. Someone reached out to him saying that there's gonna be a Direct announced on Monday, I think. We'll see. I'm not even, like, I don't believe it. So I'm just telling you, I don't believe it. But if it happens, hey, at least we're talking about it. However, just because I don't believe the rumor itself doesn't mean I don't think a Tears of the Kingdom Direct doesn't make sense. I think it does. And I do think there's reason to talk about it sooner than later because, well, we're in dire need of Zelda news. In dire need. So I expect there to be something really soon. Maybe a week after Fire Emblem Engage. So still technically by January. Maybe then. Or maybe Nintendo holds things off until like the second or third week of February where we have a Nintendo Direct. But even then, I don't think a 3-minute trailer, which would be better than we've gone so far, would really be enough. And still, February, okay, so like think of it like this. So February, let's say there's a Direct. They typically have, there's usually Wednesdays or Thursdays. Let's say it's a Thursday. All right, so February 9th, probably not. It would probably be February 16th or February 15th is a likely better the week after. So let's say they do it February 16th. That is 1 month to, that is less than 3 months away from the release of Tears of the Kingdom. And I don't know. That just kind of feels like, that feels like a really short amount of time to sort of have like a full marketing camp. They could do it. They could do it. But it's just kind of like, Tears of the Kingdom is a much bigger game than Fire Emblem Engage. It's a much bigger game than Metroid Dread. And these games had announcements. I mean, granted, we've known about Tears of the Kingdom for years, so you could argue Tears of the Kingdom's been marketed for a very long time. But like a actual dedicated focused marketing where we're learning about things about the game frequently, weekly even, or sometimes daily like that, we haven't gotten that for Zelda. We've been getting that for Fire Emblem. We were getting that for Metroid Dread when it was announced. So Dread was announced E3 2021, which is June, and it was marketed consistently until its release in October. That was a 4-month gap. June to July, July to August, August to September, September to October. 4 months. And then for now, we're about to play Fire Emblem Engage in 8 days. Yeah, 8 days. That game was announced in the last September. So September to October, that's 1 month. October to November, 2 months. November to December, December to January. Did I do that wrong? To October, to November, to December, January. 4 months. A 4-month window. So it's just kind of crazy. I mean, right now we're 4 months away from the release of Tears of the Kingdom. We're there now. So, and Nintendo still isn't having like this consistent marketing for the game. And we know that they could. We've seen evidence. We've seen the ESRB rating. We've seen the localization proof. We've seen like that awesome Tears of the Kingdom Link statue. Like there are little things here and there that are popping up. But let me continue on the chat here. TC, we all know it's coming. The big Tears of the Kingdom trailer. Ooh-wee. Will they top the epicness of the Breath of the Wild main trailer? So when you say main trailer, what I'm assuming you mean is that big, awesome trailer that came out during the January 2017 Switch presentation, where they gave us all the details we need to know about the Switch. It was a blowout live conference, big sort of theater room with an audience, and they had a lot of things talking about the Switch. They showed off different games like Xenoblade Chronicles 2. They announced Shin Megami Tensei 5. Showed off Mario Odyssey, all other games like ARMS and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And they closed it out with Breath of the Wild, and they dropped the date of its release to be alongside the Switch, which was hype. And that trailer was like, what, 3.5 minutes long. but people were saying it was like the greatest trailer they had ever seen, and it might be. It was an incredible trailer. The kind of story that trailer suggested for Breath of the Wild was just beyond epic. I feel like the trailer almost oversold the game a little bit just in terms of story, but it was an amazing, amazing, amazing trailer. I mean, to say it oversold the game, that's me nitpicking, because Breath of the Wild is like arguably one of, if not the greatest game ever made. Like, it's definitely in that conversation for a lot of people, and this trailer, for a lot of people, is one of the greatest video game trailers, if not the greatest video game trailer ever made. Like, both are in that conversation. So, from that perspective, they do match, right? They're comparable. But when I take a look at that trailer, and you listen to all the acting and all the cutscenes, like, assuming you don't know about Breath of the Wild and exactly how it's told and how it's done, you're like, you'll be surprised at the story. Like, the story that's suggested by the trailer is really epic, and yes, all those elements are in the game, but it's all split into flashbacks. So the way the actual story is presented to you in Breath of the Wild is a little lackluster to me. I'm saying Breath of the Wild may be the greatest game ever made. Like, so don't take what I'm saying as, oh, you hate Breath of the Wild, or you're speaking ill of it. Like, I'm nitpicking, really, because it's an amazing game. But anyway, yeah, that trailer, I'm assuming that's what you're talking about, because it's an amazing trailer. Can they match a trailer like that with something that's just like superb, amazing? And maybe. Now, what I am more curious about is, will they have a trailer that's comparable to that trailer, where we get a lot of gameplay details, we see a whole bunch of locales of the world we have not seen before, enemy types, dungeons, bosses, all that good stuff, and some cool story content with some voice acting in there. I want all of that. I want a trailer that's comparable to that trailer. But when they show us that trailer and they show us this epic story, I want that epic story to actually be in the game and told the right way. And that's an improvement that I'm hoping / somewhat expecting they have in Tears of the Kingdom. Like, this trailer, not the trailer, but the game itself, the story, I want to think that they're going to tell it better. It's not to say that there is not a good story in Breath of the Wild. There is, in a lot of ways. The world building. Like, there's so many details in the world itself. Like, environmental storytelling is a phrase I was trying to think of. That I love environmental storytelling. It's something I love about the Metroid series, for example. And I think Breath of the Wild did a great job. There's all these cool details and ruins and things that lead you to ask questions and wonder what happened here, how did this occur, how did this get here. Like, that's amazing. And then you find some of those journals that tell different stories about Link and Zelda and such like that adds more lore as well, and that's all fascinating, it adds. But when it came to the flashbacks, I loved the flashbacks. When I got one, I was excited to see it. It was amazing. But because they were flashbacks and you would see them out of order, and some people would skip them, you wouldn't really get everything out of it. You wouldn't see the story in a way that would be well-paced and compelling. And I think that's the main problem with the story for Breath of the Wild, that it's segmented. My other issue with it is that I felt that the dialogue, while solid in a lot of cases, like, I don't think the actors did bad, it's just that because they were talking to a mute, which is Link, it wasn't really a dialogue. It was a monologue scripted as a dialogue, and that's why it was sometimes awkward, and I don't think every scene was as compelling as it could have been. So I've been campaigning that Link should start to talk. I'm not asking for him to talk a lot. I'm not saying he should have full-on monologues. I'm just saying a little bit. I think he should still be a stoic character, doesn't talk that much. His story in Breath of the Wild is that he's a knight. A knight that had a lot of pressure on him, a lot of societal pressure on him, on his shoulders, and whenever he said something, his opinion, it would cause a stir. It would cause issues. This is in the journals that are in Breath of the Wild that give us more context on the world, the culture, and Link himself as a character. And it explains why he's mute. There's an actual story reason, which is amazing. Like, I'm glad they did that. And people will take that to mean, okay, well, because of that, now we have a proper explanation and Link will never talk. But there's something you got to consider, though. the society, the culture that was around that led to Link making that conscious decision to not talk in public anymore no longer exists. Calamity Ganon killed them all. They're gone. This is a post-apocalyptic world of Hyrule that is recovering. So there isn't really much reason for him to be mute anymore. And it should also be noted that when you're exploring around as Link himself in the actual current events of Breath of the Wild, and after all the flashbacks, everyone is either dead or in the past or a ghost. So most of the cutscenes you see from Link aren't active cutscenes, and the dialogue that you do have with current NPCs, for the most part, there is an assumption that Link is responding to them in some way or form. And it's just kind of like, how they do it with most games that don't have voice acting. They'll assume you say something, and that's just like, that's you filling it in your head. You fill in the blanks. So even when you play Breath of the Wild, there's an implication that Link is talking at times through you. And they may still do that, and they may be scared to make that change, because I know definitely some of you here in this live stream watching probably don't want Link to start talking. You think it's a bad idea. You think it should stay the same. It should never change. It should always be that way. But if you want a good story, like the best story ever in a Zelda game, I feel very strongly that Link should talk. Very strongly. Not saying he has to talk a lot, just enough. Have some powerful moments, some beats, and otherwise quick, short responses. That way, when we do hear from other characters that are well fleshed out, it's not just an awkward monologue scripted as a dialogue. It's an actual dialogue between two characters or sometimes more. And I think that would be perfect. If you haven't played Metroid Dread, I strongly recommend it. It's not even that long of a game. You don't have to play it repeatedly, although you may, because it's a great game. It's super replayable. But Metroid Dread, I think, does a great job of showing a character that only speaks when needed, is a very stoic character, but when they do talk, when you do hear them, it is powerful. It's a moment. In Metroid Dread, Samus talks twice, or talks and screams. Talks once, screams once, and both are amazing. In part because when you hear them, you're like, oh my gosh, they never say anything. This is a big moment. This is a big deal. I'd pay more attention. That's just psychology, but its delivery is on point, and the depiction of the character is superb. Like even though it's not a lot, the voice acting that is there. Sorry, dog is barking. Stop it. I don't know. It's not my dog. My brother's. Anyway, I love the dog. It's just annoying when he barks. Yeah. Point is, I think that Link should stay a stoic character. Should never, if he does talk, it shouldn't be a lot, but when he does, it will facilitate a better story. And I'm hoping, I don't believe, but I'm hoping that Link does talk in Tears of the Kingdom. And from a story perspective, I'd argue it does make sense because, well, everyone's dead already. There's no society to hold him back. And if anything, you could argue that he should have character growth and learn to handle that pressure. But that's a whole other conversation. So let's see what you guys are saying there. Not so you have a strong feeling something Zelda's happening at the end of the month. Anonymous. If a direct next week, it will be a Fire Emblem direct. I feel like we're past the point of there being a Fire Emblem direct. Like, we're already getting previews. Press already has the game. Game comes out in 8 days. I don't see how you do a Fire Emblem direct on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, leaving about 24 to 48 hours before people have the game. Some people will have it on Wednesday. So I think we're past the point of Fire Emblem direct at this point. Yeah, but I do agree, Anonymous, that there's definitely a lot of sense to be made that shortly after the release of Fire Emblem, Nintendo will start to speak on Zelda. If you guys haven't noticed, if you pay attention to Nintendo's Twitter, they've been putting out tweets about Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, which is the next game that comes out this February. They started hyping that up. They're transitioning into focusing a little bit more of the marketing on Kirby as they prepare to launch Fire Emblem. So, We're moving forward here. 10,000 noodles. The best moment in Breath of the Wild is successfully launching yourself up a mountain on a rock or tree. Oh, okay. You're talking about using stasis, the stasis trick. Okay, yeah. That is... Or not. No. Yeah, okay. On a rock or tree. Yeah, okay, cool. I thought for a second I thought you were suggesting that we ride a mountain onto a mountain. But that would be insane, but that's, you know, a rock. Okay. Pro TV, do you have any Zelda merch, like merchandising to sell on the channel? No, but that's a good idea. We'll get to that. Not today, but it's something that is on. We're working on it. Let's see here. Joy CJ, you only need a 3-minute trailer. I mean, if that 3-minute trailer is the mark of the beginning and they're talking about it consistently afterwards, sure. But I feel like a 3-minute trailer would just be... I don't want... It's never too... I never want to say it's too late for Zelda, but that's not enough. I don't think. Like, if it's a 3-minute trailer and the next week there's another trailer and then they start talking about it a lot afterwards, sure. Like how they've been giving us new information about Fire Emblem almost every day or every few days. Sure. But will they do that? I mean, yeah, they're going to do something soon. Anonymous, agree 100%, Andres. Link must speak soon. I'm glad you agree. $10,000 noodles. You don't even have to gather memories, so you could beat it without really knowing anything. I hope this is a slightly more linear and story-driven. I want a better told story, and if there has to be some level linearity, that's okay. It's okay, but let's explain that, because 100% it still needs to be an open-air game. There still needs to be a great degree of freedom, but I'm okay with them pretty much giving us access to most of the world, but there are some things we can't quite get to yet. And it's because we don't have enough stamina, or there's some sort of ability that makes it more feasible, like some little things. And maybe there will be people who will find a way to get past those little things, but for the most part, the typical person wouldn't be able to do that. It wouldn't be. It's like, you know, flying in Breath of the Wild. Like, you can technically fly in Breath of the Wild. That's not what the developers intended, but you can do it. It's possible. Or riding a tree log across all of Hyrule to get into the castle in the first 2 minutes. Like, 2 minutes... Is 2 minutes possible? No, 2 minutes... I don't think 2 minutes is possible, but you can get there very quickly. Like, those little things like that, no. But for most people playing the game, trying to have a conventional run, being able to get everywhere immediately, I don't think would be a great way to do it. The way I sort of envision it is, like, in order to tell a good story, is have everything be open, for the most part, some minor restrictions, and maybe group the game into certain waves. So there'll be the beginning portion of the game that kind of just, like the Great Plateau equivalent, and then after that, maybe you're like, okay, you have to find like the three temples that will restore the Master Sword or something. So you do that, and those 3 temples or dungeons can be done in any order, those 3. But after that, and each dungeon will have a particular story beat or element. There will be something that happens throughout that experience that tells you story, but it's constructed in a way that can happen tangentially to the other 2 dungeons in that wave. So those 3 dungeons, they all have story and stuff around it, but you can experience them in either order, and it doesn't necessarily change the story too much. But after you complete those 3 waves, then you have like a linear story element comparable to the beginning, the opening portions of the game. And then that opens up into another wave of, say, hey, now there's 3 more dungeons you have to get. You managed to recover the Master Sword, but it turns out you need sages too. So there's actually 3 other sages that need to be found. So then those lead to 3 more dungeons, and then you handle those. And then once you beat those, yes, there's story with each of them, but they're all 10. They can all happen in either order, and Then you'll have another linear story segment. Then maybe there's another wave of 3 dungeons. Then another linear story segment that leads to the climax of the game. And if you do something like that, you can have like significant linear story elements that really drive the main story, but then you could also have powerful story moments that don't need to have a specific order, but build characters and add more details for everything else that's kind of going around it. And then by the end of that, like by the end of this entire story experience, I think what we'll have is a pretty compelling story, like something that will have done a good job for a Zelda game. And that's not even accounting for just, you know, like environmental storytelling, like different like things going on with the world, and just taking those notes and details in, and then just a lot of side characters that just have really good characterization and are just really fun side quests. They might add another layer to the world, the culture, and society, and just like the ramifications of what's been done in the story. Like all of that can also add to that. That can be additional layers onto what I just described. And I think that would work. I think that could be still an amazing game, and people would love it. It would still be mostly open air, like, but there would just be some minor restrictions just for story reasons, and well, not just story reasons, but also gameplay reasons, because you'll maybe obtain some sort of power up or ability or some sort of change to the environment that will let you progress to the other dungeons. I feel that's the best way to do it if you want to have a strong story and still have that open air gameplay from Breath of the Wild. Like, I think that's kind of like the happy middle ground, but we'll see what Nintendo does. They may just be like, the story is just gonna be okay. Like, they may just be okay with that too. That's a whole other angle there. Or maybe they've figured out a way to tell a story that's entirely open with different cutscenes happening out of order, and it's still good. Like, maybe they hired Quentin Tarantino or something to tell the story. They wouldn't do that, but if they did, that'd be amazing. Paco Salvador, I think Link should talk as much as Master Chief, or maybe a little less. Yeah. I haven't played every Halo game, but I have played a few, and he's not like talking a lot, maybe a little less, but yeah, he's someone who, you know, has very choice words. Having Hope 5, if Link does talk, I wonder what his first words would be. So this I find interesting when I think more on it. Like, there's the ongoing question of why Nintendo's being so quiet about Tears of the Kingdom, right? And there's a number of theories that we've brought up, like, oh, maybe they wanted to save it for new hardware, or maybe they just want to torture us. I think that's maybe the best theory. But here's another one for you. And I've mentioned this before, sort of. I've mentioned how Nintendo just has like this really specific marketing plan for this game, and they have a plan, and once they start, they're gonna be sprinting to the end. And it may be something a little special. Maybe it includes a Tears of the Kingdom Direct, as you know, the topic for tonight's speculation. Maybe it includes a Treehouse segment or two. Maybe it includes starting it all off with a 3-minute trailer in a February Direct, and then in March they have Treehouse, and then in April they have a Zelda Direct, or vice versa. Like, maybe like that's all possible. But also maybe, again, this is, you know, me just full-on speculation theorizing mode here. I'm not even saying I believe this, but what if part of the reason Nintendo has been so quiet about this game is because there are elements that they don't want to show off yet? So when it comes to story, we haven't heard a single lick of voice acting yet in the game. Not anything, right? Isn't that strange? Considering how long we've known about the game, we've had several trailers and no voice acting. If I remember correctly, we had some level of voice acting. Like, we already knew that voice acting was in the game around E3 2016. So, what that leads me to wonder is it possible that maybe what they're doing here is maybe Link is going to talk? Maybe, I mean, I think a relatively safe bet is that Ganondorf is going to talk. Like, if Ganondorf doesn't talk, that would kind of lose a lot of value. So, Calamity Ganon is just a force of nature. But Calamity Ganon, the source of it, the root of it all, is actually that corpse, that mummy that's been under Hyrule all this time. And that is the true Ganondorf. And he's being resurrected, he's coming back to life in some way, shape, or form, but he is the root of it all. And one of the compelling elements about this is that he's not going to just be a force of nature. He's going to be a character, an individual with a personality. And if he doesn't talk, that would make no sense. So, especially because there's already a whole bunch of other characters that do talk, right? There's already voice acting in Breath of the Wild. They've already got there. That's already an expectation. So, Ganondorf talking seems pretty likely. And if they didn't have Ganondorf talk, then that would just be a bad decision, I would say. I feel like I say that pretty confidently. Like, if Ganondorf doesn't talk in the game, they made a really bad decision. But he's gonna talk. Like, that's pretty likely. That's a moment. That's a huge moment for them. But then, let's go back to what we were talking about. What if Link talks? If Link talks, then that's an even huger moment. Ganondorf talking isn't too different from Zelda talking in terms of, like, significance. But it's cool. It'll be really cool to hear Ganondorf because he's a major player in the story. It's going to be epic. Hopefully. Hopefully he's, like, a really, like, scary, intimidating, powerful character with a lot of history and a lot of growth. Perhaps not growth in the direction of being a good person, but, like, evil. But still, there's going to be a character there that's going to be a great antagonist for us. That there's going to be, like, this rivalry or this underdog story of Link trying to rise up and get strong enough to beat Ganondorf. Like, that's going to be cool, and hearing him talk is going to sell that even more. But what if there's a trailer that's a story trailer that shows Link talking, or maybe, like, Link talking to Ganondorf, or having some sort of, like, actual dialogue. Like, a dialogue of Ganondorf and Link. The only two main characters in the Zelda universe that hasn't spoken yet, at least as of Breath of the Wild. Like, that's gonna be an epic moment. Like, if you want to do something that's gonna send the rounds, it's gonna really make, you know, it's gonna really surprise people. It's gonna get people talking, maybe be trending. I think it'll be something like that. Like, so think about this. How many of you are familiar with the Space World 2000 demo? It's a tech demo of Zelda, where it uses, like, a GameCube engine that's running Link from Ocarina of Time and Ganondorf from Ganondorf as well from Ocarina of Time, and they're dueling each other with swords. People were flipped out when they saw that tech demo. But imagine, like, we see, like, Link and Ganondorf having some sort of duel. I'm not saying that's, like, in a trailer, but at some point in the game, there's a moment like that, and there's a little bit of dialogue thrown in as well. Like, that would just be epic. So, I don't know. I feel like there's a chance that maybe they're waiting for some voice actor reveals, and those voice actor reveals are not just the actors, but just, like, the voices for the characters. Like, it's gonna be a big blip in terms of, like, Zelda marketing. So, I think that could maybe be one of the reasons why they might be holding back, because they're saving a moment like this, and they don't want to show off too much story elements without having any voice acting. So they're holding back, waiting for that right time to really kick things off. Not so. Even if Calamity Ganon didn't kill them, all time mostly certainly did, except for the Sheikah. Yeah, most of the people aren't there anymore. That's true. It's been a long time. It's been over 100 years. Ultralad, if Link talks, wouldn't that mean his voice actor would need to be different since he's voiced by a Japanese actor? Yeah. Well, not necessarily. Like, you mean because of his grunts? Like, do they need to have another actor do the grunts as well? I don't think so. Well, I mean, it's something that they have to think about. They're going to want that actor to match the grunts. So, potentially. But I also don't think that should be that major of an issue. Like obviously that's a project, but you pay people to do it. They're already paying for voice actors. You're just gonna pay for a few more. The Breath of the Wild sold over 25 million. Like they have all the money they need. There are games that sell 1 million that have a far more significant voice cast with several languages. Having Hope 5. Yeah, I agree, Andres. It's time for Link to talk and open up. Cool. 10,000 is what people are going to spaz if he gets even a good voice. I think that regardless of what happens, no matter how good or bad the voice is, Link people are going to... There's going to be a lot of conversation. A lot of people they're going to dislike it or they're going to hate it. And then a lot of people are going to be okay with it or excited about it. Peinuchia, Link should definitely talk just like Samus and Dread, even if it's just one line. Okay, cool. You know what? I think it's a good poll. Should Link be voice acted? I saw that. We'll talk about it. Should Link be voice acted in Tears of the Kingdom? I'm curious how you guys feel about this. Like, I wonder if it's like heavily one direction or if it's a little bit more split than what I may or may not think. All right, so I got a super chat here from the Ostrich. Thank you very much for the super chat. I do appreciate it. And the Ostrich says, "Can you ask Nintendo Prime to unban me from the channel?" I can't do that. I could bring it up, but I don't know if Nintendo Prime will, and I don't know why you were banned in the first place. That said, I do appreciate your super chat, and thank you for being here. Hello there. Actually, here's the Nate from Nintendo Prime. Did you see? Someone wants you to unban them. Nintendo. Well, let's see what Nintendo Prime said. Watch. We just get a trickle of stuff, and we never get a blowout, and then we just go, huh? Huh? I mean, a trickle is. Listen, right now we get excited for ESRB ratings and random international pamphlets that may or may not suggest online functionality, that may or may not just be cloud support and purchasing DLC. We get excited for that. So if a trickle of content is like actual anything that's substantial gameplay footage or story news or something like that, like actual details on how the game is going to be, even a little blip of that is going to be significant. So I'll take it. But yeah, it'll still be a head scratcher. It'll be a major head scratcher. Brainiac, you remember the tech demo? It was epic, right? Pyramid, when does the stream begin? Well, we've been streaming. We started at 9:10. We've been live for we're approaching 40 minutes. Charles Stradell, Link will have one line in the next game. I will stop you, Ganondorf. All right. I would want one line that says that's to Zelda as well. 12 feet tall. The voice acting in Breath of the Wild was so bad and cringy AF. So I don't necessarily agree, but I also think there's room for improvement. And I noted earlier that I think part of the reason the voice acting wasn't as good was because they had dialogue with someone that wasn't talking. It wasn't a natural conversation. If Link can talk, I think that will boost the overall presentation of the cutscenes. A.B. James, Zonai Ruins caves will replace shrines. That seems like a fair bet. Okay, this is funny. 10,000 Noodles. Ganondorf voiced by Christopher Walken. You got me all wrong, pal. The arm's the bad guy. I like that. That's a good one. The arm's wow, actually. What if the arm's not a good guy? Like that would be interesting too. Could be like a so like I'm playing through Twilight Princess right now. And I don't think Midna's evil. I mean, I know Midna's not evil, but if you haven't experienced the story of the game, and even if you've experienced the story of the game, they do sort of like talk about this dark side, the Twilight Realm, and their ancestors were these evil sorcerer usurpers, and they were cast away for a reason because their acts were considered to be evil. And Midna definitely seems to be someone with a little bit of grit to her. And the point I'm getting at here is that this companion character you have, there is some conversation about how good or bad they may be. Like, she doesn't like Zelda at first and all of that. And then you eventually learn that she's actually like she's about as good as a person as it gets, but there's a little bit of debate and question there. So what's interesting is that imagine this hand that's maybe like kind of like, you know, Link's companion character, what have you, in Tears of the Kingdom. Like, what if there's some question as to its motives? Like, what if we're not sure if it's good or bad? And what if we're being led astray? What if it is evil? What if it is evil? It's 100% evil, and we're not sure until the end. But regardless, you both still had a common goal. So it still worked out for you both until the final fight. And the final fight, well, obviously somehow Link would win, right? You would assume. A.B. James, hookshot, hover boots. I don't know. I'm about the hover boots. The hookshot, I'm all about. Hover boots, for me, my problem with hover boots is that when you wear them, you're very slippery, slidey, and I get it. It's supposed to balance out the game because, like, you know, the normal boots should make sense sometimes, right? And I'm not even necessarily a fan of the iron boots either. I think my problem with the boots is just kind of the annoyance of having to change them all the time. Like, when there's some sort of puzzle that involves switching between boots, it's just kind of annoying. Like, I do it, it's fine, but it's not the best. So, I don't know. It depends. Like, as long as it's not... If they do have different kinds of boots, I'm not against them per se. I just hope that the way they're done, you're not forced to have to go to your pause menu or your items, even if it's like the real you can do in real time, like constantly, because and then just like that constant break with the story or the gameplay, like that's a little annoying to me. I want to just be able to kind of like continuously move and go. So if they do have those kind of puzzles that require like hover boots and stuff, as long as it's designed in a way where I'm not forced to change back and forth repeatedly, but I can rely on them for extended stints. Because, yeah, I'm okay with changing my items, but if I have to go back and forth every 30 seconds, every 15 seconds, that gets annoying. So, if there's puzzles that require use for extended stints without switching, okay, bring them back. But if it's something like kind of like previous games where you have to change all the time, like especially the iron boots, that's a little annoying for me. So, yeah. The other element of it is that there's so much options that Link has in the air now, and probably more than what Nintendo's told us. Like, hover boots might get in the way with that, or might be a little redundant. And actually, I mean, at least based off the way hover boots worked in Ocarina of Time, running off a cliff, you'll then be hovering for a little while. You won't be able to do like the dive, and there's a lot of gameplay built around diving and flying down through the sky. So I don't know. I think hover boots is probably a no, but of course those things I brought up could be designed around. If they really want to bring the hover boots in there, they can do it. But I think that it just probably wouldn't be the best gameplay decision. They probably can focus in another direction. The hookshot, however, I think there's maybe room for that, even though you could also make similar arguments for it. So with the hook shot, one, let's keep in mind they had something similar to the hook shot, if not the claw shot, which is the variation of the hook shot. They had something like that in the concept art for Breath of the Wild. So they were already thinking about something like that in Breath of the Wild. Didn't ultimately end up in the game, but it was a thought, a consideration. And the way that Link looks, actually, I wonder if it's in this book here. I think it is. I think I have it here. Oops. It's fine. We're good. Yeah. Sorry. I know that there's... I could probably just Google the image. I'm sure I have it saved somewhere, but I feel like just using this book instead. And I'm going to find it because that's just what I feel like doing. But because this book is awesome, by the way. I'm sure you guys have heard of it. It's the Creating a Champion Breath of the Wild book. Let's see here. I'm like looking through the 200 pages and I'll probably find it. It won't take that long. Oh, this is an illustration a friend made for me a long time ago that it was just like a potential like conceptual logo for Bandana Charmander, but that's not relevant to what I'm talking about right now. Oh, this is also not relevant, but let me just point it out. Naked Link. There's no genitals, it's fine. Alright. Let's see here. Maybe it's not in this book. I mean, there's a lot of pages left, so I'll probably find it at some point. It was probably them talking about early concept. Whoa. Yo. Alright. I haven't even looked at this page before. Check out some of these, like, designs for Ganon. Like, what if they went in that? Those are cool designs. Ultimately, they went for, like, this, which is only okay. I don't normally say this, but I feel like that's kind of mid. That's another thing. They need more boss and enemy variation. Hold on. I can't be that. Well, there's actually a lot of pages. I probably should just Google this. I know you guys know what I'm talking about. That concept art that has Link with the hook shot. Like that would work. One moment. I know it's just gonna pop up and he said, I still have a lot of pages. Maybe I should just be faster. Yeah, I'm gonna Google it. I think I just wanted a reason to talk about this book, which is amazing. Whoa! Every time I look at this book, I'm like, that looks crazy. Like, just some of the art here. I mean, we saw this in the game. I'm just right now looking at the castle stuff. Like, it just looks great. Alright, let me just show you. I'll just Google it. I'll find it faster that way. So, here we go. Link, hookshot, Breath of the Wild. I'm sure it's going to pop up. No. There's a concept art. I'm trying to find it. It's like Link with one arm. Concept art. Will concept art show it? No. I still can't find it. Maybe I have it saved on my computer. I might. No. Jeez. I can't find... Oh, I found it. Okay. It was in the developer diary. Alright, I'm going to show it to you guys now. Alright, here we go. Open image in new tab. There we go. Okay. One moment. Without further delay. Alright. I lied. There we go. So that right there, this was like concept art before it happened, right? And then what's really interesting about this stuff is that we may see this in the game. So something's off about Link's right arm. It looks weird. Something off about his right side. He has a broken Master Sword, very similar to the broken Master Sword in Tears of the Kingdom. And here's what looks to be like a hook shot of some sort. But there's other items. There's a hammer, bomb shooter, the beetle, the bow. I don't think they're gonna do all of this because Link still has his hand. It's still functional. Still can use a sword and stuff. But there may be something to some of these abilities, which might be kind of cool. I would like to see it. I'm all about it. So they've point is if they've thought about stuff like this, right? There's been considerations there, and there seems to be some ideas that they're bringing back into Tears of the Kingdom already. So who's to say they won't bring more, like the claw shot, the beetle? I don't know. Even this like thing, even though Link doesn't have quite that there is a dragon head that is on a shield that breathes fire in the second trailer. So there's some stuff there. Okay. All right, moving on to the chat. Oh, okay, this is interesting. Gone Hunter, I can't believe people are defending the Legend of Zelda film by Illumination. You think it's a 100% trash idea. Okay, you're entitled to your opinion. I think that I would prefer... I think that if Nintendo hires Illumination to make a Zelda movie, it will be a good Zelda movie. So that's really ultimately what it comes down to me. I have faith in the decision making with the Zelda team or the team at Nintendo when it comes to the messaging and the care for their characters and their IP. So Nintendo did not make a movie for over 2 decades, or maybe 3 decades almost, because of the travesty of that original live-action Mario Bros. Movie. They've taken so long to get to this point, in large part because of how careful and cautious they are. So, I don't think that if there is going to be a Zelda movie by the Illumination, it's going to be bad. Now, I do understand why some people think that Illumination wouldn't be able to do a great job, because you look at what they've done, they're really good at making a lot more kiddie stuff, a lot more kid-friendly, jokey, not-so-serious content. But I think that under appropriate direction, maybe it could be done. Like, just because we haven't seen a slightly more serious-themed animated movie by something like a Pixar or DreamWorks or an Illumination doesn't mean it can't work. And I feel that a style like that with a slightly more serious tone that's like a fantasy adventure based off the Zelda universe, like, I think that might actually be pretty good. It could be really good. And I think with that kind of style, you could get away with different elements a lot more easily. Like, for example, say if they were to tell the story of Ocarina of Time, which has 2 different timelines with 2 entirely different aged Links. You could just get 2 different actors if it was live action, but it would be better if they just had CGI and it was the same character and same voice actor. So, you know, that's kind of some of the things that are a little bit easier. Also, it's easier to make a more fantastic world and things of that nature with an animated movie. Not to mention, they can make an amazing looking monster boss, and it's not as hard to make it match to the world, because, I mean, if you're going to do live action and you're going to have a giant monster boss, it's going to be CGI anyway. So, there's that. Now, I'm all for, like, an anime or a Studio Ghibli style film for Zelda. Like, I think that would work so well. I mean, after all, the art style for Breath of the Wild is inspired by Princess Mononoke from a Studio Ghibli film. But I don't think an anime film has the mainstream, widespread appeal that will garner the success that Nintendo wants for a Zelda movie. I think they're either A, going to go in a live action or something like what we're seeing from Illumination direction. But if they do hire Illumination or some other studio like that, they're going to make sure that the right people are involved to do it right. So, yes, Illumination doesn't seem like the kind of studio that would make the best Zelda movie, but they are still a talented studio based off what we're seeing from the Mario movie. That much is clear. The Mario movie looks amazing. So I think they could probably make another movie, even, and maybe it'll have a different tone. Like, I think it could work. That said, I don't necessarily believe the rumor. It's one of those things where from that source, I think it's kind of more of a, and it's also because of how careful Nintendo is with it, and also the history of Nintendo canceling things like the live-action Zelda from Netflix. Like, I think that even if the rumor's true, there's a good chance it still doesn't come to light. Like the Mario movie, there was a good chance it was going to come to light if they couldn't come to agreement on certain design decisions. So I'll believe it when I see it for this one, but maybe I'll get more optimistic over time. I want to catch up with the chat here. I've kind of gone back and forth with the early stuff. All right, the chat jumped. There we go. There we go. Okay. Darcy, congrats. You hit 100 concurrent views at the time. Oh, I see 100 concurrent views right now. Thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate it, guys. If you could like the stream, that would be super helpful. It will help more people to see the show, so I would appreciate it. The Legend of Gears. That dragon on his arm ain't that torch they show on the trailer on his arm on the left side. So, first off, that old concept art has a left-handed Link. Link is right-handed. Something happened to his hand. Obviously, the design is different. Only argument I was making is that there were ideas taken from that concept art that already, at least it looks like they're taking ideas from that concept art and maybe implementing in Tears of the Kingdom. Like, the whole idea there's something wrong with this right side, the broken Master Sword. Why is there a broken Master Sword? Like, we've never seen that before in a Zelda game where it was shattered in half. That Master Sword isn't half, just like what we're seeing in Tears of the Kingdom. So, there are just similarities. It may not be the same thing, but maybe it was an idea they were already playing around with, and it evolved and adapted to what we saw in the second trailer. Darcy, I wonder if anything extra will happen with the dragons. I think so. I mean, literally, the Ouroboros symbol has dragons in it. The dragon head statue on the shield. We've seen what appear to be dragons in the sky, in the background, in the latest trailer from Tears of the Kingdom. And I also believe that the divine dragons that fly up into the sky in Breath of the Wild that go through a portal, I believe this cloud portal they fly through leads them into this sky realm that we see in Tears of the Kingdom. So I think there's an element there as well. Yeah, I think there's something to that. Not to mention, Naydra, Farosh, and Dinral represent different elements of, you got the red, the blue, and the green. And there's this conversation we've had about how maybe we see the return of the Triforce, and you got Link with the green, Gandalf coming back with the red, and Zelda, is the princess, and then they're always protected by the Sheikah family, and that they're blue, right? So if that comes back, perhaps that brings in more of a story importance with the dragons that represent those three sides as well. So just something else I'm throwing out there. I think there's a pretty darn solid chance the dragons are going to have a way more significance in Tears of the Kingdom than Breath of the Wild. I mean, I feel like the proof is already there, but we'll see to what extent. So I feel like the arm bow won't happen because we've already seen him with a bow in Tears of the Kingdom trailers. Could be a special ability that he obtains. Yeah, I think that one's probably not going to happen. I agree. The bomb one, though, right? AB James says, well, there has to be some replacement for bombs if there's no slate bomb room. Right, exactly. Like, it doesn't look like we have the same runes from Tears of the Kingdom, so maybe we get a replacement. Yeah. And I would love to see the return of the beetle. Well, yeah, I would. If it's like to get into small little places, yeah. Let's see here. Mark, Nintendo's only partnering with Illumination because they're owned by Universal, who Nintendo is working with because of the theme parks. I think Nintendo. I don't know if Nintendo has a strict agreement with Universal to make all their movies, but I imagine they're going to be working with them to bring them forth. And if I think Universal would use another studio if they couldn't put it together. I do see the parent organization for Illumination is Universal Pictures and NBC Universal. Yeah, I'm not sure. Universal has a lot of studios, so maybe they could bring in more talent and come out with a different direction for the Zelda movie. So, like maybe Nintendo Universal is seeing how much success this Mario movie is going to have. They're like, okay, let's take things to an even greater level. Okay. DOS added me. If Illumination does a Zelda movie, I'd hope it'd be more serious and an adult in tone compared to the Mario movie. Yeah, we're on the same page. Totally agree with that. Gone Hunter. Pixar has made serious movies. 90% of theirs is that. So I mean, maybe they can get away with it. Mike Odyssey. Link will be voiced by Tom Holland. OMG. Like, I love Tom Holland, so it's just kind of feel like that's what people. It's kind of like people want Tom Holland to do Link, and they want Zelda to be done by Emma Watson. So, I mean, actually, I think Emma Watson would be great, but yeah, she would be. Probably. There's someone else they could. There's probably other people. Yeah. The thing is, I do believe they pick the actors they pick in part because of their recognition. It's not just about who fits the role. It's about who fits the role, but it's also about bringing in a big name because they want people to watch this movie. So when they say Jack Black is doing Bowser, it's not just about, oh man, Bowser's is in the game. I mean, the movie. Keep swapping them. It's also because people love Jack Black. So, yeah. I do think Tom Holland has a chance. I really do. Even though that I feel like the whole idea of Tom Holland is mostly from like rumors and stuff, but maybe those rumors kind of come from the idea that yeah, Tom Holland probably would be a good Link. Let's see here. Okay, my chat's jumping around. Zach still with ASMR. Yo, Andre, question. Do you think Ganon from Breath of the Wild 2 reveal Archetype Ganon or Twilight Princess? I can't figure it out. Okay, so you're asking me the Ganondorf in the trailer, the first trailer for the sequel to Breath of the Wild, which we now know as Tears of the Kingdom. You're asking me, is that the Ganondorf from Ocarina of Time or Twilight Princess? So, it's both. Let me explain. There are technically only 2 Ganondorfs in the entire history of the Legend of Zelda, the canon history of Legend of Zelda. There's only 2. The Ganondorf we see in Ocarina of Time, in terms of the timeline, is technically the first time Ganondorf appears. So, Ganondorf, the idea behind Ganondorf is that it's a Spear of Demise is resurrected in Ganondorf. So, Ganondorf is like the main bad guy, but he doesn't die. he has too much power to die. He's just sealed away and finds a way to come back. So at the end of Ocarina of Time, you don't kill Ganondorf. He's simply sealed away for an indefinite amount of time. And he promises to get his way out. So he gets out. And when he gets out, he ruins Hyrule. So, and it happens in two different ways. So, because there's a timeline split. So there you have the adult timeline, the child timeline. The child timeline is the timeline where Link is sent back in time to live his childhood. And so in that timeline, they know Link is able to tell Zelda and the others that something's going to happen, and they're able to apprehend Ganondorf. And those events eventually lead, after Majora's Mask, lead to the events of Twilight Princess. So, same Ganondorf. However, the Ganondorf that turns into Ganon for the first time at the end of Ocarina of Time is the Ganondorf that we eventually see break out of the Sacred Realm and destroy Hyrule, that causes the gods to, or attack Hyrule, that causes the gods to flood Hyrule, and that becomes the events of the Wind Waker. So there's all that. I don't know where this falls in the timeline, but the Ganondorf we see in the mummy thing probably is that Ganondorf. I did say there was two Ganondorfs. I forget, because there's two different, there's Force Ganondorf in Four Swords. There is one game, a Four Swords game, where Ganondorf is in Four Swords. Is it Adventures? It's one of those. I forget which one. But even in that game, the spirit of the previous Ganondorf is in there too. So there's that. But that's just Four Swords. Every other time, like for the major 3D Zeldas, it's the same. It's the exact same Ganondorf. The Ocarina of Time, the Wind Waker, the Twilight Princess, same exact Ganondorf. So yeah, that's probably this same Ganondorf. That's probably what they're gonna do. I mean, it makes the most sense because he's the most recurring villain we've seen throughout the Zelda games. And the story of Ganon, Calamity Ganon, is that Ganon gave up on a physical form after generations of failing to take over Hyrule. So it all adds up. The Ganondorf we've seen try to take over Hyrule repeatedly has failed repeatedly, gave up on his physical form, and Calamity Ganon. At some point or another, he was trapped underground Hyrule, became that mummy thing, but his evil essence has come out of it, and he's trying to terrorize Hyrule in that form. But the true root of it all, we're dealing with in Tears of the Kingdom. Hopefully I answered your question. Daywalker. Personally would love to see a 3D Aqua Mentis boss in the sky. Is that an old Zelda boss? Something to meet is. Yeah. I would love to see a lot. There's several dragons from the older Zelda games, from Legend of Zelda. That would be really cool to see, like, redone in 3D, in HD, modern day graphics, and seeing how they would act. Like, it would be amazing to see that. And if there's emphasis on dragons, like, what if there's both good and bad dragons, a lot more. That would be really, really cool to see. And if there's a lot more sky battles, as we've seen from the patents, like, I would love an emphasis on just fighting dragons in the sky. That would be so cool. Link and Goku team up against Ganon. Consider it a leak. That's right. Oh, riding an Nimbus, though. That would be fun. That's a fun one, Mike. Okay, Mike Odyssey saying that Nintendo does have a distribution contract with Universal. So they would have to stick with Universal then, right? Let's see here. Alright, I'm just looking through the chat. Brynek, I know many friends who got bored with Breath of the Wild after 15 to 20 hours. Bored in quotations. Nothing wrong with having a difference of opinions. I think Last of Us is no masterpiece that so many people praise it to be. I find that a lot of people get turned off by products that they heard about simply because they're popular. They had no natural inclination towards whatever that product was. They just kept on hearing and seeing other people talk about it. And some people are just naturally turned off by something like that. If it's not something that they know about, there's nothing about it that inherently excites them, and they see everyone excited about it, they almost have like a predisposition to dislike it. So when they're eventually baited into trying it out because of peer pressure, what have you, they already have the predisposition to dislike it, and then they dislike it. I'm not saying that always happens, but I feel like there is a select percentage of people that it does happen. Like, for example, a lot of people don't like Fortnite. There's a lot of people who like Fortnite, but a lot of people dislike Fortnite because everyone plays Fortnite. So, but I've played Fortnite. I think it's fun. I don't think it's amazing, but I think it's fun. I played a lot more of it a few years ago, mainly just because there were people I would play it with, and it was free, and it just kind of made sense. And I actually thought it was a fun idea, you know, running around a big open area and it closing in and being the number one out of 100. Like, that was a cool idea. So I know other games did it, but it was free. That's just what a lot of people got into. But anyways, I think there's that element. And then also, yeah, not everything's for everyone. You know, some people aren't really good at adventure games, and sometimes big games can be overwhelming. I know that, like, for me, sometimes it's really hard to get into certain things if I don't already have a predisposition to liking it. So, you know, it makes it harder. Sometimes it's just hard for me to start something. That said, Breath of the Wild was the greatest game ever made. So, or one of them. I'm recently been more leaning towards Breath of the Wild maybe being the GOAT. Like, and I think that's a good sign, because I think how great we think of a game years after its release matters. So Breath of the Wild is incredible. Now, something that I think will be interesting is what Tears of the Kingdom will change about that conversation, because like it's just all of a sudden we have a new comparison for it from the same series. Like, you look at Skyward Sword, right? And I think there are elements of Skyward Sword that people love. Like, a lot of people love the story. But then other people were like, oh, but yeah, but Twilight Princess, like, there's a lot more cool bosses in that one, and that was great. But then other people were like, oh yeah, but you know, the Wind Waker, you know, the exploration was better than Twilight Princess, right? The people were like, oh, but you know, Majora's Mask though, that was darker, like it had better side quests than the Wind Waker. And then Ocarina of Time is like, well, Ocarina of Time was a bigger, longer, more epic adventure than Majora's Mask. Like, there's people like to compare, right? And it's almost like sometimes people prefer the previous one because there are things about them that they've grown to love. I know people have joked about it before, but there's like a cycle, right? Like a Zelda game comes out, oh, super hyped. Then after some time, they start to hate it, but then they start to love it again. Like, there's like kind of like that cycle, it feels like sometimes. But anyway, Breath of the Wild, I think very highly of, and seeing how it's going to compare to Tears of the Kingdom, how they're going to compare, is going to be very, very interesting. And I hope Tears of the Kingdom feels like its own thing. I want it to just come straight up outclass Breath of the Wild. I want it to be more than just outclassing it. I want it to be an improvement. You always want them to get better. But there's also a small part of me that likes the idea of Breath of the Wild being the greatest game ever. Like, that's nice. And if Tears of the Kingdom can simply be comparable, that's okay. Like, that's not necessarily the end of the world. Like, Ocarina of Time I see as a better game than Majora's Mask, sort of, but I almost look at Majora's Mask as kind of like an extension of Ocarina of Time. Like, it's just kind of like more of that universe that was for years the greatest game ever to me. And now I think maybe Breath of the Wild might be better. And then Tears of the Kingdom might be an extension of that. So that might be pretty cool. Alright, let's see here. Chalchadel, Adventure on GameCube has Vati instead of Ganon. Okay, so Adventure has Vati instead of Ganon. Okay. Okay, so maybe it was the first one. Have a good night, Brian. Yes, Daywalker. the OG dragon. PM Kingdom. I think that the lights we could see and the monster with the lotus flowers could actually be representing dragon eggs. The monster with the lotus flowers. The monster with the lotus flowers. I'm not sure. What lotus flowers are there in the Tears of the Kingdom trailer? I know there's like that blobby thing, and then there's also like the green like robot thing, and then there's also the bird thing. Brian Doe, I want to see Zelda turn on Link in an attempt to end Demise's curse once and for all. If you look at her actions for Breath of the Wild, she lied to him multiple times after she leads him straight to Ganon. I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know. Hold on a second. I lost the live chat. Let me try and get back. I lost my live chat. I'm coming back, I promise. There we go. I now see the chat again. Oh, okay. It looks like I missed a super chat. Did I? I can't see it. Where was the super chat? It never showed up to me, for me. Let me find it. First, let me end this poll here. Alright, so 122 votes. Should Link be voice acted in Tears of the Kingdom? What are the results? 56% said yes, 44% said no. So that was actually fairly divisive. Like at first I was seeing the chat and I was thinking, oh, maybe, you know, it's yeah, that was more divisive than I thought it was going to be based off what I was just seeing comments on. Why can't I see the super chat? I see I got another super chat, but I don't, it's not showing up for me, so I apologize, whoever did that. Thank you. I want to see it, but I don't. My chat's like not letting me see a lot anymore. Why? I don't know. Well, if you @ me, if you just put an @ and you get my name, and just say what you're gonna say, I'll get to it. Okay. Aaron Curdy, when are we gonna see the new intro? Probably in tomorrow's video. I gotta work on it a little bit. There's a couple, like, just kind of how I'm gonna use it, but yeah, you'll see it tomorrow in the new video, because that's when I use them. I don't use the intros in the podcasts. Well, maybe I could do something. Oh, okay. I got you now. Okay, see what you're saying, Mario DK. The closed lotus flower egg looking things. So the green like monster thing that almost looks like maybe like some sort of like weird version of an Armos maybe has these two giant egg-shaped things on his shoulders. You think that can maybe be eggs. We do see that symbolism. If those are dragon eggs, man, the idea of dragons would be crazy. That would be so crazy. Wow. Okay, I do see a super chat here from Jack Penn. Thank you very much for the super chat. Jack Penn says, do you think we'll explore lands beyond the canyon? I still want there to be. Like, that I'm all in on that. Like, that would be amazing. So I guess the problem, like, it's gonna be yeah, like it's an exciting idea that I'm going beyond. But the thing is, once they go beyond, how far beyond do they go? Enter Super Saiyan 3 theme. But like how far beyond do you go? Because I mean, if we look at the Zelda 2 map, what Hyrule is depicting technically is just a small, it's not even a fourth of the total map size of the world of Hyrule in Zelda 2. So in theory, they could just build a whole other massive world if they really wanted to. But there's no way they would build a world that big. There's no way, right? There's no way. There's no. That's not even. I don't think that's at all reasonable, because like they're adding a lot of sky stuff. Like the focus is still around Hyrule Castle and all that. There's no way that just turns into a small corner of the world. If it did, that would be mind blowing. But that's mind blowing to the nth degree. So I guess part of the question is like, how far do we go beyond? If they do that, I think they are going to expand in various ways. It's really just a question of to what extent. And actually, something that I would like to take a look at here is let's see if we can. I'm gonna go to YouTube and pull up the Breath of the Wild 2. I know it's Tears of the Kingdom, but like before we didn't even know its name. Development update and what the launch timing update. Okay, I'm gonna put this up for you guys. We're gonna watch it real quickly together. Just because I want to take a look at what Anuma said, because I feel that we can extrapolate something from that, and that'll be cool. So one moment, let me just kind of put this together here. And there we go. Okay. So we got that there. That there. Okay, so I think it would be... I think it's this one. There we go. Alright. I think I should be able to hear this. Can you hear me? You can hear me. Okay, cool. Can you hear the video if I play it?
こんにちは。
Yes.
ゼルダの伝説シリーズプロデュース大変申し訳ありません。
You know, just watch from the beginning, just a minute and a half.
こんにちは。ゼルダの伝説シリーズプロデューサーの青沼です。
That's our guy.
ゼルダの伝説ブレスオブザワイルド続編の発売時期に関してお知らせがあります。本作は2022年に発売を予定しているとお伝えしていましたが、開発にもう少しお時間をいただきたく、発売を2023年春に変更させていただきたいと思います。楽しみにお待ちいただいている皆様、大変申し訳ありません。続編の舞台は前作ブレスオブザワイルドでの地上フィールドだけでなく、空の上にも広がると前回お伝えしましたが、拡張された世界はそれだけではなく、そこで皆さんを待ち受ける新たな出会いや新たな遊びも前作以上に多彩なものとなっています。
So, let's go back here. Okay. The adventure in this sequel will take place not just on the ground, as in the previous game.
前作ブレスオブザワイルドでの地上フィールドだけでなく、空の上にも広がると前回お伝えしましたが、拡張された世界、
the expanded world goes beyond that. What does that mean? What does that mean? And what's also interesting, right? If we really want to like over, by the way, I see the egg there. That could, I mean, I don't think it's a dragon egg. This one, I think it's just decoration. But I could see, I mean, to your point, it could just be symbolism of dragon eggs, and there may be actual dragon eggs at some point in the story or world. Like, it's believable, definitely. Anyway, what I was going to get to, though, is, like, you see all these mountains in the background. Like, what if we can go to all those mountains in the background? Like, how far does that go? And there will be an even wider variety of features you can enjoy. Anyways, it's really just this line here. However, the expanded world goes beyond that. That, to me, like, that's cool, dude. It's cool. And I don't know, you know, like, what that will be like at all. So, you know, I need to go back here. However, the expanded world goes beyond that. Yeah, that's, I don't know if that'll be canyons. I mean, going beyond the canyons, what I meant to say. But, like, they're going beyond. It's not just the sky. It's not just the world below. Like, what is the expanded world? People speculated underground. People speculated underwater. What if there's another realm that's just like a split reality? We've seen them do that before. Low Roll, the Twilight Realm. What if they did something like that again? And there is the option to go a little bit beyond the borders. The great thing about the construction of Hyrule right now is that they've created natural borders already. So what do they do to, like, I mean, will they just keep it exactly the same? Will they change it? Like, will there be something there? You know? So in the Wind Waker, when you try to go beyond the map, the boat just tells you to turn around. The King of Red Lions, like, automatically, he just says, like, hey, we shouldn't go this way. The waters are too dangerous. And that was always an exciting, like, premise to me. It's like, oh, what's so dangerous about beyond here? What's beyond the map? I must know. It's nothing. It's just them putting that there so they could, you know, put a grid on the world. Yeah. Honestly, I'm not sure, Jack. I want to. I'll say that I think they should think of something different for the borders. If we go and play Tears of the Kingdom and the very edges of the map are exactly the same, that's going to turn me off a little bit. I feel that they're not going to do that, because the edge of the map is a point of interest. So I hope they think of something interesting. One idea that I would love, this is just an idea. Actually, I think this is a great idea. All right, so hear me out. I'm not saying that they would do this. I don't know what they'll do. I'm totally unsure. But I feel that a great way to sort of have a map that depicts an infinite world, but still restricts you because it won't actually be possible, would be like, what if, like, basically you can go beyond the borders, but when you do, it gets nasty. When I say nasty, I mean it gets dangerous. Like those the dangerous waters in the Wind Waker. Like, imagine if you played the Wind Waker and they let you go out beyond the map, but when you do, the waves become even more. The further out you go, the more tumultuous the waves become, the more tornadoes you see, the more giant squids and other monsters pop up, and it gets increasingly harder and harder. So, and it eventually gets so hard that there's no way you will survive, or it becomes super unlikely. But you can go, maybe if you're really good, if you practice well, you can go for a while. but after a certain point, just kind of like procedurally generated, right? Like you never actually get to like new land. It's just they use some sort of like algorithm to generate enemies and weather to make it harder and harder for you to go, and it's endless. But it depicts this idea that the world is infinite, and it's like a fully real world with no actual barrier. The only thing that's holding you back is just the opposition, and it's super hard. And it becomes almost like a mini game, right? Like in a lot of games, when it's open, you want to go see as far as you can go. Imagine if there's a border where you can go as far as you can find a way to go, but the further out you go from the map, the harder and harder it's going to become to continue. Like, how much cooler would that be instead of just an invisible wall? You know, like that would just be so fun. So I would love it if they did something like that. Like, what if they did let you, if you have the stamina, and you can find a way to fly or land to the other side of the canyon, climb up, you can go there. But as it turns out, over there, it's a land of Lionels everywhere. You're just getting bombarded by Lionels, and there's lightning storms and all these crazy things, and that's what it is. You're trapped in Hyrule, and you just have to keep on going. And that's if you try to go out towards the north or the east. But what if you go through the desert, and then or through the water, like the other side of the water? And the waters, it's pretty much what if they handle exactly how I described how they could handle it in the Wind Waker. Like, I would love that, because it becomes like a really exciting mini game that adds this level of mystery, and it goes beyond just, oh well, this is the end of the world. Like it would be, but it would be a really fun way to do it. So I would love it. And another cool thing, if you did that, you could still collect like, you know, materials from the Lionels or the giant squids or what have you. And you can make your way back. You'd be like, oh look, I went beyond the borders of Hyrule. Look at all this treasure I got, and it's like pretty good treasure. Like that would be fun. I like the idea. Obviously, I came up with the idea, but you know, whatever. Curious what you guys make of it, but I think that would be a great way to handle the borders of the next game. Let's see here. All right, I see another super chat from Taker610. Thank you very much for the super chat. Where do you think the game could start? Let me put on the background music again. Good question. So, where do I think the game could start? So we see in the first trailer that Link gets wrecked. His hand gets destroyed. The second trailer kind of confirms that. The third trailer further confirms that his hand's all messed up. He has those armaments. That shot in the second trailer where we see like Link's glowing hand, it looks like Link is laying down at a table. I think he's being like, there's some sort of surgery. Something or someone is helping him out after the events of the beginning of Tears of the Kingdom. So he's going to be taken to the skies. That's what I think is going to happen. Some sort of force is going to take him to the skies. That's what I believe. I think it'll be done through some sort of portaling. Like that's what'll happen. And they will do what they can to help him. And that's why Link's hair looks longer. I don't know if it's actually longer, if it's just no longer tied up, but he has different clothes. That's how he'll be garbed after the surgery. Or, yeah, the surgery, because they'll be trying to recover his hand and stuff and get him back working. And this will answer, and it'll also function as a reset for him. So you know kind of how, like, in the Metroid Prime games, or the Metroid games in general, oftentimes, well, the Metroid Prime games, the point is, in a lot of the Metroid games, Samus starts from the beginning, but something happens to Samus that forces her to lose a lot of her abilities and technology. So this could be like that event, the beginning of the game. It's that this big attack where Ganondorf resurrects, burns his hand or destroys his hand. They lose Zelda. This is a reset for him. He loses his equipment, his abilities. He's maybe out of commission for a little while, maybe a few days, a few weeks. We don't know. But there's a little bit of he loses his strength. So he starts with 3 hearts again. He starts with basic stamina. The idea, he has to kind of build up again. It's a reset, so they can still have all of that for this game. It makes sense from that perspective. And he's going to be somewhere in the sky. But your question is, where do you think the game could start? I think it obviously starts in the sky. But where exactly? Like, it's somewhere in the sky. And I want to say... I'm trying to find a piece that I feel like gives us an idea. I don't think we know with... Okay, so I'm going to share the trailer again because I think it kind of shows something here. So... Can I go frame by frame this way? Yes. I can't make this out. There's too many clouds. Can't really see too much below, but... There's a part where we can see the world below. We can't really see it here because of the clouds. We just see the Sky Islands. But here...
I believe,
if you look carefully...
そこで皆さんを待ち受ける。
No, stop it. Right before this scene, the last scene. So you can see the... I forget the name of this area, but this area is on... It's not too far away from the Rito. It's like an area between... If we're looking at the map of Hyrule, it's on not the east, the west side of the map, the left side of the map, and it's under the Hebra region. It's under where the Rito are, but it's also above the Gerudo version. So it's like in, I don't want to say middle, but somewhere in between that area where we see that as you're leaving Hyrule Field, getting to the left side of the map, crossing those bridges. Like it's around, I think it's before the chasm, but so you're somewhere above there. So you're relatively close to above the fields of Hyrule, the main fields of Hyrule, but on the left-hand side from this shot. And based off the clothing we're seeing, it looks like the clothing that Link was just given after his surgery, what have you. I bet this is like the relatively early part of the game. That's my speculation. So I'm going to say, well, I mean, it may not be, but I'm going to guess it could be. So I think we're probably just... Yeah, somewhere above the central to western-ish part of Hyrule. Yeah, that's my guess. Simply based off the evidence we have. Okay, I see I have another super chat here from Brian Doe. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. So, Brian Doe says, Hyrule will be an extension of the Tarrytown quest. The producers have already said they wanted to do this in the first game. The shrines exist in a separate area. This will be the Sky Islands. I like the idea. I like the idea. I mean, so... Let's see here. I see your point. Like, I feel that makes a lot of sense. So... I'm gonna trying to like, I want to dissect it. So, I love the idea of the Hyrule being an extent to the Tarrytown quest. So, I feel that there should be a restoration effort in Hyrule, like build back Castle Town. There's all these ruins all throughout Hyrule. Like, what if it is just about before Ganondorf comes back? The idea is that Calamity Ganon is done. So people are thinking it's now safe to explore Hyrule again. People who perhaps weren't in Hyrule that left to other lands somehow, you could argue they could come back. There will be a story reason for there to be a denser world, a more populated world with people, and there's going to be more people trying to migrate in and start up life again, build other towns and farms and maybe even cities. And they may even want to restore areas that were in ruins. So this idea of an expanded Tarrytown quest, because people love the Tarrytown quest. That is the most favored, beloved quest from Breath of the Wild. I believe Nintendo's aware of this. They take feedback seriously. They may want to build on that. So maybe it is the case that a lot of Hyrule is going to be about building up new towns and things like that, and engaging with different characters, and basically building back civilization. I love that idea, because the idea in the initial Breath of the Wild is that civilization is gone. So in Tears of the Kingdom, you building it back up, love it. Love it. And to your point, they have all these sky areas that could be where they have the shrines, like the equivalent to them. I'm okay with all of that. But I think that the dungeons, I think there's got to be dungeons that we can find in the bottom part of Hyrule. There's got to be stuff there that's uncovered that we can find. As they said, they'll be expanding beyond. Like, what does that mean? Underground, underwater, maybe other areas, maybe beyond the borders, as we were hoping for. Like that I think they're gonna do. And I also think, I don't think it's gonna be clear cut. Like maybe all the shrines are in the sky, but there's gonna be other stuff. It's not just gonna be about building up. Like I think they're gonna, like I think if there are some temples and dungeons below, that there are some areas that have rare treasure, camps and things like that. Like there's gonna be stuff down below that are gonna be interesting. Like think of it like this, like you need a reason to go down. It can't just be all the main story stuff is at the top and just side quests are at the bottom. No, there needs to be a reason to go in back and forth between both areas. So what will that be? If the main dungeons are down below, that's one thing. But maybe there are environmental puzzles that link the surface to the sky. Like we saw in the trailer, Link actually was able to take up a big block from the surface and bring it into the sky. So maybe there's going to be a lot of retrieving artifacts and ruins and things like that from the bottom to the top. And maybe it's about pieces of land or temples or shrines, what have you, that are missing a certain piece that you can find in the land of Hyrule and you bring them back up to the sky. So there's just elements there that I feel like can go both ways that will encourage exploration and actual mainline story progression on both the land and the sky, and hopefully there's more than that. Brian Doe, thank you for the other super chat. Brian says, Google what the producers wanted to do with the Terrytown. All right, sure, I have no problem with that. Let's see if this will pull it up. What the producers wanted to do with the Terrytown quest. Well, producers of Breath of the Wild. Let me add that. Okay, I'm just saying tips on how to do it. I don't know, do you have a link? If you could post a link in the chat. Because I'm not seeing anything on Google. I'll just see Nintendo Life telling me how to do the Terrytown quest. Just guides. Walkthroughs. Yeah, I don't know. Like I want to see that. I can't find it. AB James, new water temple under Lake Hylia. Why not? So that's an amazing thought, really. So like the water temple and the lake bed temple are both at the bottom of Lake Hylia in Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess respectively. So why can't they, like, if you can go underwater, guess what? There's a dungeon down there, and that's why we couldn't find it before, because it was underwater and we couldn't see it. Like, there, simple, question answered as to why we couldn't see it in Breath of the Wild. It was underwater. Boom, perfect. But let me throw you another angle at you. If you can go underwater, maybe there's another Zora race, because if you look at the Fallen Timeline Zelda games, there's two different types of Zoras. There's freshwater and seawater. The green Zoras. Considering that there's Lionels from that timeline, maybe they could even bring that. And that would be another race, but they might be more like an angry, not hostile Zora. Like maybe if you explore the deeper underwaters and caverns, subterranean caverns of Hyrule, there's another race. But they're not a very nice race. At first, at least. That would be kind of sick to see. And then we also have Death Mountain, which is no longer has flowing lava. In Death Mountain, inside the mountain, there is a temple. A fire temple, but we couldn't go in there in Breath of the Wild because of all the lava. But if the lava seemingly gone, maybe we can find a way in there. And there, boom, there's a fire temple. Boom, there it is. There's some crazy tornado with the Rito area. I don't know how that would have been hiding something underground, but who knows? Those are possibilities. Something else that's interesting about the Wind Waker. With the Wind Waker, they have mountains. Like, all the islands are the peaks, or the mountain peaks of Hyrule that's underwater. And when you go to the Earth and Wind temples, the idea behind them is you're trying to find access to the temples that are in a part of Hyrule, but you don't have access to the world of Hyrule from underwater. However, you can access them from the peaks of the mountains that house said temples on the sea. So what's interesting about that is that Breath of the Wild is almost like a world that depicts all these mountainous areas, and some of those mountains, maybe they have dungeons in them too, and we just have to excavate a little bit. And that's something we can maybe do, or maybe they're surfaced because of cataclysmic events or earthquake events, seismic activity from the resurrection of Ganondorf, and boom, there's more. Or this underground exploration, they may find more dungeons in that way. So, like, there's room to uncover and show more things in a natural way that makes sense for the story without just plopping it in there and then answering us to why we couldn't see it in Breath of the Wild. Let's see here. Charleston, maybe a freaking big maze like caverns in the underground. Yeah, there could be caverns. Like, even in Twilight Princess, they have random caves that kind of just wind and wind. Yeah, PM Kingdom, those weird towers that are just kind of like, you just walk up them, they're like just like hexagons you stand on. That would be cool. I'm totally down. I love your idea of the submarine divine beast. Like an underwater vehicle that you can enter. That would be really cool. I don't know if we'll see divine beasts in Tears of the Kingdom, but why not? Like, that's actually another point. Like, why is there no Sheikah technology in Tears of the Kingdom? Are they just wiping it from the face of the earth? Or is there an actual explanation as to why we don't see it? We do hear that at the end of Breath of the Wild, Zelda's saying there's something wrong with the Vah Ruta and they need to check it out, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know what? Let's double check that. Hopefully you guys are okay with Breath of the Wild spoilers, because that's what we're about to check out. Full Breath of the Wild ending. The true ending. Alright, let's put this up. Let's put this up here. Don't need to see that part. Don't need to see that part.
Witnessed your struggles to return.
Don't need to see that part. No, we don't need to see that part. Skip through that. This is the end, but then there's an additional scene if you got all the flashbacks.
We'll make our way to Zora's domain. Divine Beast Vah Ruta. Looks like it's stopped working. Let's investigate the situation. Miva's father. I believe he would like to hear more about her. The least we can do is visit him and offer him some closure. Although Ganon is gone for now, there is still so much more for us to do, and so many painful memories that we must bear. I believe in my heart that if all of us work together, we can restore Hyrule to its former glory. Perhaps even beyond, but it all must start with us.
Oh my god, I have goosebumps! I love this game! Alright, I'm stopping it before I start crying on camera. Where am I? Okay. I actually like watching that. Was interesting for a lot of reasons. I think there should be like a dedicated. I think I should make a dedicated video on this at some point, because there's really, if you really think about it, it seems like there's a lot in that scene that is setting up for the future. A lot. Like, one, they're like, oh, well, for now they got rid of Ganon for now, or they want to restore Hyrule, or perhaps beyond. What is that about? And then Varuta, they're sitting around with Varuta. They got to check that out. They have so much work to do. Like, there's all these things that they're putting in there that is hinting at something more. So maybe we need to really just take a look more closely at what we know about Breath of the Wild that could tell us about Tears of the Kingdom. Maybe there's more there than we realize. So let's think about it. We're talking about this massive Terry Town quest. Well, they want to restore Hyrule. It makes sense. It makes perfect sense. And they're talking about going beyond. Well, what is beyond? Well, that means whatever sort of ruins we see in Breath of the Wild, maybe the end goal is, if you do all the side quests and stuff, like it's gonna be even bigger. Maybe there'll be some cities and things like that. There's gonna be more civilization than what was depicted from the flashbacks in Breath of the Wild. But that could be maybe one of the visions for Tears of the Kingdom. And while it may sound ambitious, let's keep in mind this game has had a 6-year development time, building off of the base of Breath of the Wild itself. So you could argue this game's been in development for like 10 years. Like, that's just, I mean, not literally, but kind of. There's something. I think there's something to that. And then also the part that I literally went to the video for, seeing how she was taking a look. They wanted to see if there's what's going on with Varuta, like what happened to Sheikah technology. There's something that's going down, and we don't see them at the end of at the beginning. We don't see them until the Kingdom trailers, is what I mean. So what's going on with that? And when we think about it, we assume we have full access to the Sheikah technology because we had access to it throughout Breath of the Wild, and with Calamity Ganon was destroyed, we assumed that everything was fine. Like, when we took over the Divine Beasts and beat their bosses, we assumed that everything was fine. But that was all through Calamity Ganon. Just the brewing anger and smoke that's been building up coming out of the source. And if the source comes back to life, if Calamity Ganon had the power to possess and control all these guardians and divine beasts, would it not be reasonable to think that maybe Ganondorf himself could also do the same? Or worse? So, I don't know. What if the divine beasts, if Varuta just not working, could be a sign of like a calm before the storm? Like, what if when they defeated Calamity Ganon the way they did was a breaking point for Ganondorf, and these investigations that Link and Zelda are doing now, and they see the Vah root is not working, something's weird with that. They're just trying to figure out what's going on, and it eventually leads them to exploring this cavern where they find the root of it all, Ganondorf, and then everything breaks loose. Like, what if the reason why we don't see the Sheikah technology is because Ganondorf's in full control of it? And actually, what's really interesting about this is I kind of continue to like dive down this hole of random speculation. On the note of a hole, Zelda falls down a hole. So, and Zelda is, has the Hylian royal blood. She's the princess. She's the successor. The Sheikahs have always protected the royal family. So, what if Zelda falls down a hole, falls into this pit of malice or what have you, and this leads to her own story, leads to her perhaps connecting with the lost Sheikah technology that we see at the end of the game, and it plays a role in the ending phases, the end stages. Maybe there's something to that. Maybe. All right, let's check on the chat. Thank you, Burp. MZ killed. The second trailer we see Death Mountain dormant. In the latest trailer we see it erupted with malice. I don't think this is a case where the devs tries to hide the malice early from us. I think as the game goes along, the world will change and adapt for good and for bad, like Death Mountain, and that excites me so much. I want the world to change as much as we venture in the game. I want a dynamic world, totally. And you think about what they already did with Breath of the Wild. I think a reasonable expectation should be that they should go beyond. Like they should continue to elevate. So the weather, the whatever is destructible in the environments, the physics, all of that, they should be improving and building upon it. And all of these elements led to a world that felt like a living, breathing world that was heavily interactive and dynamic. So I think it stands to reason that we should expect some level of evolution with a sequel that's been in development for basically 6 years. So I think that this idea that maybe the world evolves and changes as you progress, and maybe it is like, oh, the Death Mountain changes and these different, like the world just changing as you go, like having a dynamic world that is continuously interesting throughout your experience. Like I think that's a reasonable expectation. I don't even think that's like a pipe dream speculation. I think that makes sense. I see that. Yeah, at one point they wanted to add people that were like the Minish people. They're very similar. There's even small houses and stuff. What if they bring those in? Like, what if those people, there's a story reason as to why. There's a story reason as to why there could be, I guess what I was trying to say is that if you consider that Calamity Ganon is gone for a brief period, perhaps these people could come back to Hyrule that maybe have an ancient history of once being Minish or what have you, and they surface, they reveal themselves because they realize they think it's a time for peace because Calamity Ganon is defeated. So there could be that, and that there's with that story detail with Calamity Ganon being defeated, we could see a lot of races and creatures. That's a good explanation for why we may see a lot more new races and creatures in the world of Hyrule. Sean Castlesinger, how come we never see Ritos just flying around? So, as we continue to talk about this idea of the world, of the evolution of Hyrule, maybe restoring civilization somewhat, remember how in the Wind Waker the Rito were responsible for the mail delivery service? And I don't think Breath of the Wild had a mail delivery guy either. What if the Rito start to deliver messages across different towns and villages? and we see them flying around the map. That makes sense, and it would be really cool. Please don't spoil the Breath of the Wild. I only played through the game 4 times. Yeah. Yeah. Mario DK added me. What if we can use the time manipulation abilities to reverse entire areas or locales back to pre-calamity time? Kind of like the time shift stones in Skyward Sword. That would be amazing. I would love if they were to do that. I don't personally expect it though. You know, maybe part of me doesn't love it. Like I think it would be really cool because I think the time shift stones were an amazing mechanic in Skyward Sword. And I wouldn't be shocked if they maybe have an area or two that take advantage of a mechanic like this. Like I'm okay with that. But I don't know. Like I think I prefer them actually trying to restore Hyrule. Kind of like how Zelda literally says at the end of Breath of the Wild. So I guess my point is that if there's a big focus on using time shift stones for us to allow us to experience the past, to still live in the past, then there's not as much of a focus on the future. Unless they build around this idea of comparing the past to the future, then maybe there's room for it. But I'll say I don't expect it. But man, if they did, there's a lot of room for some really insane puzzles. A lot. Alright, I'm gonna focus on just ats and super chats right now. And then I'll close out relatively soon. Let's see here. Mario DK, what if we can use time... Okay, I got to your comment already. Okay, cool. Cool. Killer Erona 67. I have evidence of Wii Moonview Highway in Mario Kart Deluxe Mystic Course Pathway 4. First, it's popular Mario Kart Wii. And second, Super Mario Bros. Movie is coming in theaters. Wii Moonview Highway... I mean, if it's a popular one, I mean, there was that like leak, right, of some data mines, I guess. I would play it. I'm okay with that. We saw they're adding another Rainbow Road to Mario Kart Tour. It's based off the Wii one, I think, which is interesting. So I don't know if I need another Rainbow Road. I feel like we're getting on a lot of Rainbow Roads. I know Moonview is not that, but I'm just kind of speaking on Mario Kart stuff. But I would probably prefer Moonview Highway over another Rainbow Road, so hope you're right. Charles Stradell. That beast was trapped for 100 years by Zelda. It indeed built anger for a long time. And, that's an interesting point. I wonder if that's the breaking point, because Calamity Ganon was just being held off like that for so long. Like, so it was a little bit of a unique situation, this attack with Calamity Ganon. And maybe that's part of the reason why the cycle decided to change again. It became a breaking point. Exactly, AB James. It is crazy to think that Calamity Ganon was it's a crazy idea with this idea that Calamity Ganon was a creation from that leakage of the mouse coming out of Ganondorf's corpse. Like, totally. Like, yeah. Alright, Brian Doe, thank you for the additional super chat. The third section down mentions Did You Know Gaming. Okay. I want to find this. So let me find this. Okay. So I'm gonna Google this. Okay. Well, Did You Know Game? Do you mean like the YouTube channel? Well, Did You Know Gaming? Terrytown Quest Breath of the Wild. What comes up? I hate Google. Are you saying if I go to Did You Know Gaming now? Is it on their Twitter? Did they recently tweet about this? Tweets and replies. Majora's Mask. I want to find this. The link is in the chat. Okay. Maybe it's because I only have top chat available. Maybe if I do live chat. Well, the link is in the chat right here. Somebody point in here, please. Let me see. I'm trying to find the link. I don't see it. Yeah, I don't see it. I don't know why it doesn't let me see any links. Does it let you post a link? Is it possible that it's not letting you post a link? What website do I search? Is it on YouTube? Is it on Twitter? Is it like what website do I go to? I will, if this exists, I will find it and I will take a look at it. Yeah, Rainbow Road is gonna be pretty awesome in the Mario movie. PM Kingdom. Think about the attire Ganondorf is wearing where he is held. He appears to be dressed for a formal ceremony or something, definitely not dressed for a fight. Oh yeah, maybe he got wrecked. That's possible. He may not have been ready for battle, or maybe he was garbed afterwards. He was mummified and worshipped. Okay, so if I search Screen Rant, settlement building, Breath of the Wild, will something pop up on the Google? Alright, so here I see an article from Screen Rant. Why Breath of the Wild 2 could have customizable Terry Town houses and how. Breath of the Wild's Terry Town quest is okay, blah blah blah. Is but a glimpse. YouTube channel Did You Know has gone deep dive on a handful behind the scenes secrets from Breath of the Wild's development. One of the videos highlights is a look at the ambitious initial idea of Terry Town's construction. According to Breath of the Wild's lead structural artist Manabu Takahara, the square section buildings used to create Terry Town were originally going to allow for customization by the player. Not only that, but the structures could have been placed in other parts of Hyrule as well, letting players shape Hyrule like never before. That would be awesome. How long ago? This was published almost a year ago. Okay. I need to watch this later. Yeah, I mean, you know, the fact that they were already talking about this and thinking about this as a possibility in the past, again, strengthens the idea that maybe, you know, with all this time they've had, a lot of ideas that they want to implement in Breath of the Wild, they will make sure to try and implement in Tears of the Kingdom. So it supports the idea of a massive Terry Town quest, which I'm all about. Terry Town quest was amazing. Now, make it fun, right? Don't just make it like boring and repetitive, but I think there's a lot of potential there. That would be really exciting. I think there's something to that. You know what? I'm probably gonna make a video on it. I'm gonna investigate this a little further, and yeah, I think this could be pretty cool. It took a while to find it, but I am glad I found it. You telling me to look through Screen Rant, I saw an article on it. If I wasn't gonna watch Did You Know Gaming's video while we're live, but yeah, because it wouldn't seem fair to like watch their video while people are watching my stream. I'm glad you brought it up, Nicholas Kinkota. Most people have been asking about Zelda, so that's what we've talked about. But let's take a few minutes to talk about Smash Bros. Let's go for it. So earlier today, I made a video making an argument that in the future, when there isn't a Smash update or a sequel, I think that Noah Mio will be added to Smash Brothers. Now, I guess one question is, what will be the next update for Smash? Because we have Smash Ultimate, Fire Pass Volume 2 finished not that long ago. There's so much content in that game. It's going to be hard to just make a brand new Smash Brothers from the ground up and for it to stand next to Smash Ultimate. So, that would be just insane for them to kind of match that. It's such a huge undertaking Smash Ultimate was, to see all those third-party partners involved. Yeah, it's just crazy. But I think that they need to make another Smash Bros. Game at some point. Smash Brothers is a huge seller for them. They always have a new Smash per new platform. So with their next system, inevitably, they'll need to do something with Smash Brothers. Something. What that will be is hard to say. Maybe a deluxe version of Smash Ultimate. Maybe it's just Smash, but they have an update to it. And it's that simple. They just have an update for it. Maybe they have a straight up sequel. Maybe it's like a reboot. I like the idea. That way we can see something sooner than later. Because I feel like if we're waiting for a sequel, we're years away. But maybe in 2 years, we see them announce an update for Smash Brothers. And maybe it's like a Smash Deluxe, like a Smash Ultimate Deluxe, and it includes basically a Volume 3 Fighters Pass. And it just adds half a dozen or so new characters, and adds a few more stages, and adds another mode or two, and it's also, the visuals are updated into 4K or other minor enhancements for the new system. And they just kind of do that to modernize it a little bit. Maybe they could even announce an actual DLC wave, which would actually be another Fighters Pass volume. But this wouldn't be a brand new game. It would just be an enhanced version of Ultimate. And what's interesting about this is that they could do this sooner, right, within the next couple of years maybe, and we wouldn't have to wait for them to make a whole new Smash Brothers. And considering Smash Ultimate is probably going to last for a while, look at all the content it has, it's going to be relevant for years. But also, this would also mean that Sakurai, who's been contemplating retiring, moving away from Smash Bros. For so long, at some point he will have to, maybe by having a deluxe version or something like that, some sort of expansion, be it DLC or what have you, he could simply take an overseeing role, a role where he takes a step back. He's not as actively involved. It's not as significant as a development process, but it allows him to train up the next generation to take care of Smash Brothers. That would be a wonderful way to do it. So I keep my eyes peeled. I'm not saying that we're going to get Smash content in a year, but I think within the next couple of years, I think there's a chance we get some level of an update. If not, then I think we just have to wait for the next game. But yeah, I think there's a future there. Yeah, I wouldn't say it next year, Nicholas. I mean, if there's a next generation system though, and they want to have an update quickly, maybe. If Mario Kart is done in 2023 and they want to have some sort of regular update thing to keep people interested, maybe they announce a Fighters Pass, a booster Fighters Pass or something, that's gonna go on for 2 years to start the new system, and it's for Nintendo Online members. Then there's even more characters and stages added. Maybe. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but I'm not expecting it. that soon. Let's see here. Let's see here. Okay, I'm almost done here, guys. A.B. James. Well, maybe there's some new interruption like the blood moon that happens every so often that causes more pieces of land in different regions of the world to erupt and rise to the sky. Ooh. Like land moving and changing throughout the game, like cyclically. That would be insane. TJ, bring back the Dark World for real and fishing. I want fishing to come back. I miss fishing. Give me fishing. Like we can fish, but there's no fishing rod. Like it would be cool if you can build your own fishing rod, and the quality of that fishing rod may make it easier or harder to catch fish. And maybe you can even like catch different insects which already exist, and you can use them as bait. That would be cool. Oh, and it's kind of like, yeah. Let's do that. Let's see here. TJ, think tears are rain, travel between underground to surface and surface to island with water rain spots that fall or go through the ground. I don't know. I do not know what they'll do with the tears. I do feel like that drop could be related to a tear, though. There could be something to that. Maybe the tears allow you to explore the kingdom. Tears of the kingdom. Like I think there's something to that idea. And maybe Tears of the Kingdom could have like a double meaning, right? Like one, it's hinting at this people that suffered, and that's related to the story, and it's about Link, you know, doing what he can to save the civilization, what have you. But on the other, it could be relating to your point about the tears and going up and down between the land and the sky, and it could be just sort of alluding to this level of exploration. The tears allowing you to go throughout and explore the kingdom in full. So it would, if that's the case, I think that's like it's really a brilliant name. Okay, so you got another super chat here from Brian. Thank you for the super chats. I very, very, very appreciate it. Let me see what you got to say here. Kilton's design looks minish. Have fun with that one. I'll Google this real quick. Does it? What? You think Kilton looks like he has some Minish Cap qualities? His clothing, maybe? Let's look at some Minish Cap people. I don't know. I'm not sure I see it. I don't know. Am I looking? Maybe if I should look at like the old man. Is there a symbol on there that kind of represents that? Like I'm looking at images of Kilton, and I don't see anything that really reminds me of the Minish from him. But maybe it's not blatant. Maybe it's the angles. He just looks like he has monster qualities. Trying to investigate. Brian, to all the unproportioned buttons and everything else, yeah, but overall design is Minish. It is as if he was expanded in size because they canceled Minish being in the game. Okay. I feel like maybe I don't have a good look at Kilton. but I don't know. He's weird looking. I get what you're saying. I mean, I don't know. He doesn't look human, that's for sure. I don't know. Maybe we'll get more information on that in Tears of the Kingdom. Okay. Look at the balloon. All right. The balloon. Right now I'm just Googling images, right? So yeah, I see the balloon. I don't know if that straight up reminds me of the Minish per se. I just get kind of like a pack rat kind of thing. Now, I don't know. It would be interesting to see if we saw like some actual evidence hinting at that. But there are, I'll give you this. There are some buttons that are pretty big looking. I'll give you that. I do see a few buttons there. So skeptical, but I see some buttons. That buttons are not usually made that big, so I'll give you that. All right. I think I'm pretty much at the end here. Adam L., when do you people think a Tears of the Kingdom Direct is coming? So, if we compare the advertisement cycle to Splatoon and Xenoblade, I think reasonably we should be probably seeing it about a month before the game actually comes out. So this would mean early April. But also the Mario movie is coming out early April. So that's where it gets a little tricky. I wonder if maybe they do a little bit sooner. So maybe we see it in March. And they just kind of market it with other stuff until then. I think the latest we have a Tears of the Kingdom Direct is the second week of April. Because I just don't see them doing a Direct with just a couple weeks before its release. So that's what I think. I think the latest we see it's the second week of April if there's a Tears of the Kingdom Direct. But potentially sooner. Because you got the Mario movie at the beginning of April. And we need to learn about this game. Like, I think that I almost like wonder. There needs to be a blow up of this game at some point, and we're just so dire for news right now. Could they get away with just giving us like a big trailer in the February Direct, and then just some Twitter announcements until late March or early April, and then it goes to all the Direct? Yeah, they probably could get away with that. But we need something big soon. Something big soon to start to answer some questions. So, yeah, like if there's a Zelda OLED and all that stuff, like we need to start learning soon, I think. But yeah, I think we've reached the conclusion for tonight's stream. Thank you guys for coming by. If you could leave a like, that'd be super appreciated. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe. We do make basically daily Nintendo content. Sometimes there's a video and a stream in a day. So, yeah, check it all out. I did make a Smash video about Noah Mio from Xenoblade Chronicles 3. So please check it out, guys. I would very much appreciate it. But I will see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.